happening now. We come to you today with a special edition of WNY News Now with Ryan Hedrick, Dakota Hunter, Justin Gould, Matt Hummel, and A.D. Simcoe.
And I'm Dakota Hunter in the First Defense Weather Center. Well, it's going to be dry once again today, but chilly. We'll talk about how cold it will be for this week, plus spring arrives today, but will it feel like it? I'll tell you about it coming up.
This special edition is about our city, the failings of our city, and the hope that we, each one of us, can bring to the table to change the direction. There's no news more important than this in today's day and age in our city, and that's of the opioid addiction issue. So we've taken an entire show, we've dedicated it to this problem. We'll have Dakota Hunter with his weather, but we want you to focus on your city, focus on the issue, and focus on what recovery could do to this city. Today is Tuesday, March 20th, 2018.
Live and on demand from the Chautauqua Audio Works Studios in downtown Jamestown. This is your source for breaking news. WNY News Now.
Welcome to a special edition of WNY News Now on Facebook Live. We're going to get away from the routine, day-to-day, sometimes monotonous storytelling of press releases, actualities, and trending stories to give you a dose of reality. We touch base every day on News Now, but it's buried in press releases. It's addiction, and it was addressed at City Council on Monday night in a very interesting way, and you're going to meet the man that kind of spearheaded that effort, and you're going to hear his story, as well as reaction from the people that he was trying to address and trying to get a message across to. Let me share a little bit about my thinking and my experience with the city and active addiction. I came to the city in May of 2013, specifically to work at 106.9 KISS FM and 95.3 The Lake. I was a radio host and a news anchor. I was tasked with creating a local show every day called NYPA Today that would bring the community news stories, interesting stories, diverse stories, and stories of engagement, of hope, and of education. What I found in looking around as my tenure progressed from 6 months to a year and on upwards of a year and a half to 2 years is I found that this city, so tiny but so vulnerable, was exposed to what we now know as a nationwide, even a worldwide epidemic of heroin, meth, and general active addiction. I took a lot of slack for it, I took a lot of chances, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I am not a perfect person by any stretch. I've made my own mistakes and have my own things that I have to deal with, just like anybody else. But tonight, Monday, and as we're airing this Tuesday afternoon for the sake of better terminology, rekindled my desire to want to share the story of hope of recovery from active addiction. Active addiction is something that transcends drugs. It is said in one program that addiction expresses itself in ways that are antisocial and makes detection, diagnosis, and treatment difficult. And that's why it is so hard for many of us to wrap our heads around why people keep sticking needles in their arm despite the imminent threat of death, despair, homelessness, separation, and seclusion. What really rekindled my spirit was the fact that there is hope for each and every one of us, and there is hope that not only can we get other people clean, that we can live better lives by being in service. You're about to meet a man named Richie, and he hails from Ohio, where he tells us it's just really bad right now in terms of the drug use, prevalent, rampant, affecting any and everybody. You name it, it affects them. And his proposition is to have local police departments donate 50% of their seizures from drug dealers, whether it be cars, money, houses, whatever, and contribute that back into the effort to try to get people clean. But here's the sad fact about active addiction. You cannot make an active addict want to get clean. It is something that is so difficult to tell who's going to succeed in recovery and who's not going to succeed. Richie has a very interesting story. I asked him a couple of questions outside City Hall on Monday night, and here's what he had to say.
Yeah, so the idea is a petition that we started, has over 5,000 signatures so far, and the idea behind the petition is real simple. It's to use seized drug dealer assets and money for rehab. In fact, we're actually only calling for 50% of that money to be used because we do think that law enforcement is important, and they do need to use some of that money for law enforcement. However, we do, have a big gap in treatment.
Per Chief Snelling's, some of the numbers he threw out and some of the procedures that they use and ways they use the money, does it discourage you in any way?
No, absolutely not. I mean, these were numbers that we knew coming into this when we proposed it. I believe that everything starts at a local level. So we have to start locally. You talk about, he talked about, I believe it was 40 million or something was seized statewide, and 40% of all money seized goes to the state level. So, that's millions and millions of dollars that we could use for treatment. And then even on a local level, if 40% goes to the state, that leaves $84,000 that was seized out of $140,000 that could be used for treatment. Even if you take half of that and, take about, $42,000, that's still, people that you could get into local sober living homes and that you could get a lot of help with $42,000.
We're going to talk about the magnitude of the problem and how it hits home by introducing you to a mother in a moment. But your journey, why don't you share with us? Are you a recovering addict?
Yeah, I myself am a recovering heroin addict. I've been clean for 3.5 years now. My addiction obviously started with prescription painkillers. I broke my arm my junior year of football and was prescribed Percocet and heroin. Percocet and Vicodin, sorry.
You look like a pretty healthy guy. I mean, you break the stereotypes of what people would say a quote-unquote junkie is, even though I hate that word. I think it's a dirty word. But you kind of, your body type, you wouldn't look like the average heroin dealer. Why don't you kind of shatter that stereotype and tell us what the average drug addict looks like?
Yeah, the average drug addict looks like you and me, honestly. It's not some guy just sleeping under the bridge. I come from a great family. I won a state title in track my sophomore year of high school. I scored in the 98th percentile for writing and the 99th percentile for reading on the ACT. I had all A's and B's in school. I had offers to run track and scholarship, run track in college, on a scholarship. But, these things happen, especially with the prescription painkiller epidemic.
Ohio has been, some law enforcement officials would say, a catalyst for drugs coming in here. How bad is the situation in Ohio right now?
Yeah, it's really rough in Ohio. Across the nation, it's terrible. We lost over 64,000 people to overdose last year. And to put that in perspective, that's more people than the entire Vietnam War, which is one of the deadliest conflicts in our nation's history. But in Ohio, we're #1 for overdose deaths. I myself, I've lost 10 people that I'm really close to since I've been clean in the last 3.5 years, and I'm 26 years old. It's crazy.
What motivates you, and how have you been able to stay clean when others are dying?
What motivates me is the people that I've lost. That's honestly why I got clean, was after one of my friends passed away, I was really upset, and that was November 6, 2014 was the day he passed, and that was the day that I got sober.
Now, he was addressing Jamestown Police Chief Harry Snellings, and Snellings runs the Jamestown Metro Drug Task Force, and back in 2014, they served more than 80 warrants, confiscated hundreds of thousands of dollars. But because of the system that's in place in New York State, that money is broken up and is delegated to the Chautauqua County District Attorney's Office and the State Attorney General. And by the time it trickles down to local police departments, there's barely enough to keep surveillance on big dealers going. There's barely enough to buy new equipment.
There's a long process,
so here's how
but once it's
Snellings
adjudicated,
addressed
it goes through the courts.
Richie, and he did it with a lot of respect and
Determines what we do
education.
with the money.
Here's Jamestown
We keep
Police
all of
Chief
it,
Harry
we
Snellings
keep
in
a
his
portion
own
of it,
words.
or we have to return it. Those are the three options. Once we get that court order, all that money goes to the district attorney's office. The district attorney's office reports it to the state, and then it gets turned over, and then quarterly we get our reimbursement. At the local level, the reimbursement's only 35%. New York State takes 40% off the top, 25% goes to the district attorney's office. At the state level, they could answer to this better than I can, but a portion of that goes to Oasis. You're familiar with Oasis? Sean?
Me?
Yeah.
Oasis?
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Okay. It's the New York State Office of Alcoholism, Substance Abuse Services. And part of that money, so there's money already diverted towards that.
Right.
Definitely not 50%. So that's probably where you would have to address it. Out of curiosity, I looked it up for 2016, and you can get onto New York State's website, just kind of see where the money goes. So actually, I got an email from Jason today, and kind of sparked my interest to see where the money's going statewide. And the report that I saw was for 2016, in New York State, a total value of assets that were forfeited pursuant to the state forfeiture laws statewide was $28,449,701. Chautauqua County was $50,860. So you take 40% of that, it's a little over 20,000. The DA's office is 12. The local breakdown is 17,801. So that's not a lot of money. And I think that's part of the big misconception. Out of that 28 million, 28.4, 4 agencies accounted for 26 million of that. I think you can guess where they're at.
Coming up a little later, we're going to talk to a man named Lawrence Allen. Lawrence was in active addiction for 30 years. Dropped out in 8th grade, shot heroin for 27 years, and at the end of the road was left with nothing but living in his mom's shed, running electricity from her house to his shed in order to stay warm in the winter. He got so sick of using that he checked into a small treatment center called Mountain Manor in Maryland, and that treatment center saved his life. He got clean off of heroin without alternative medication. You're going to hear how he did it. And on the other side, you're going to meet a mother who never thought she would be dealing with active addiction in her son, but she was forced to confront it, and she's an educator. She'll share her amazing story. But first, let's check in with Dakota Hunter in the First Defense Weather Center. Dakota, good afternoon.
WNY News Now is sponsored by Chautauqua Audio Works, 3335 South Roberts Road in Fredonia. More than a music store. Call 679-4333. Call now, 679-4333.
The Main Landing Restaurant. Excellent service, awesome food, and a beautiful view.
Everything's made fresh here. We love to be outside, and it's nice inside if it's raining, so we have a choice.
Locals and non-locals agree that the Main Landing is quickly becoming a destination.
It's just so casual, and just the food is amazing.
I love the hamburgers.
But I really like the tuna I had.
The Main Landing Restaurant. Excellent service, awesome food, and a beautiful view.
It's tax time, so get to Express Bike and Auto in Jamestown for all of your vehicle needs. Service, inspection, vehicle sales, they do it all. For all of your automotive, motorcycle, and ATV service needs, Express Bike and Auto even offers financing. Your true one-stop vehicle shop is Express Bike and Auto in Jamestown. They're located at 1761 Foot Avenue Extension next to Quick Fill. Express Bike and Auto in Jamestown. Stop looking, start saving today.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first. Now, your First Defense Forecast with Dakota Hunter.
And welcome back to this special edition of News Now at Noon. And yes, I'm still here. I'm here in the First Defense Weather Center for you, watching your weather for you. And yeah, it's still going to be cold. Today is the first day of spring, and spring actually starts at 12:15 today. So how about that? Let's go and take a look at it. Let's take a look at Lynx 1, and we'll take a look at the Sky Vision camera network to start off with. And this is the camera on top of Seneca Allegheny Casino in Salamanca. You can see the traffic down there on I-86 as well. The temperature is currently 33 degrees with a very low dew point of 8. And an east wind of 4 that creates a wind chill index of around 29 degrees. So yeah, we should be in the 40s this time of year. Hey, it's spring. Happy spring. We made it. But yeah, it's not going to be feeling like spring anytime soon. So I put my little smiley face emoji on there for you, just because we're finally done with winter, but not officially. kind of officially we're done with weather, but not by the words of Mother Nature. We've still got a little bit more winter to go. Live look outside downtown Jamestown from the News Now camera that's perched right outside of our studios here. You can see the flag kind of flying there, so that's a great indication of how strong the winds are. Not too strong out there. Currently at the airport north of the city, it is 24. We have a wind chill index of 12 when you combine it with that east wind of 14 miles per hour. And look at the dew point number. It's 7. Lower the dew point means the less, basically dew point measures the moisture content in the atmosphere. So the lower the dew point, the drier the air. And we got 10-mile visibility as well. So yeah, and of course that dew point is of course the humidity. So it's 48% humidity when you combine it all together. Now around the region right now, it's 21 in Olean, 25 in Springville, 28 in Dunkirk, also in Erie, and it's 29 in Buffalo and 32 in Niagara Falls. All these arrows is the wind direction. So you can kind of see where the wind is coming from today. So it's kind of east to northeast today, pretty much the wind direction throughout the day today. Now, zone by zone, town by town for tomorrow, and the temperatures will not be spring-like at all. We're still going to be held down into the lower 30s. Now, this 29 at Clymer, I think I think you might do a couple degrees more than that, but I think that might be a bit underdone. But again, we're pretty much going to go lower 30s throughout the day. Where are you, spring? It ain't here anywhere for a while. Now, Doppler vision, here's the next nor'easter that's going to be tracking along the east coast. And this actually is part of that storm system that's actually impacting the southeastern states. And that's causing some severe weather. It's all a part of it, and this is going to ride up the east coast. Now, fortunately for us, it's going to miss us. It's going to pass to our south. But zooming in, putting the Buffalo radar on, clear scans, nothing is showing up across the region, and that is good news, and that'll probably remain for a little bit. And speaking about that storm system, now once again, the Storm Prediction Center has outlined this yellow area here is an enhanced risk for severe weather. It includes much of central Florida, and I wanted to put this up mainly because I know we have a lot of people who are on spring break, and if you have friends or family who live down here, so all of this is an enhanced risk, and within this enhanced risk zone, there is a 10% probability of tornadoes in this risk. And of course, we had damaging tornadoes last night, and there's actually a tornado watch out for all of central Florida. That's all these counties here shaded in yellow. That goes until 7 p.m. tonight. So just want to mention that in case you have friends or family down there, or if you're vacationing down there as well, you might want to keep that in mind. And here's the Viper radar. This is actually the Tampa radar, just to show you here kind of what's going on. And again, all these storms are isolated. They're pretty much cellular in nature, and that's of course mostly the most common form of severe storms is isolated to cellular storms. Here we go with the future scan over the next 24 hours for our area. Just a few cloudiness throughout the day. Clouds will increase throughout the night, and especially going into tomorrow. Now, the model shows it. There's the leading edge of some of that snow from that nor'easter. It's going to stay pardon me, it's going to stay to our south this time, so we're not going to be impacted by this. However, if the track jogs maybe about, 50 to 100 miles north, that will throw some light snow our way. But again, I think for now, it's going to remain well to our south. So the forecast for today, partly cloudy, but it will be cold and dry though. Temperatures range from 31 to 35 with a northeast breeze 5 to 10. And then for tonight, mostly cloudy but won't be as cold, 21 to 24. And the wind comes up northeast 12 to 16 miles per hour, and the sunrise at 7:19 tomorrow morning. It's getting earlier. Here come the next 7 days of your life that are brought to you by Quick Solutions. 33 for tomorrow. And take a look at Thursday of 32 degrees. Yikes. We should be around 44 this time of the year. And as we expand out the rest of that 7-day, we bring in a few snow showers on Saturday, but I don't think it will be a big deal. Hey, we finally see the 40s again for early next week, so that will be a heat wave. We will take a break and we will be right back.
First Defense Weather is sponsored by Quick Solutions of Jamestown. Count on Quick Solutions for printing, copying, mass mailings, and so much more. Part of your team. Learn more at QuickSolutionsUSA.com. That's QuickSolutionsUSA.com. WNY Sports Now is powered by Phone Zone of Jamestown. With the largest inventory around, we buy and sell our own merchandise at a price that can't be beat. Have a broken screen? We'll fix it. Learn more at PhoneZoneShop.com.
A woman who dealt with the unthinkable, something as parents that we just wakes us up in the middle of the night.
I walked in the house and my son said, "Mom, I need to talk to you." I said, "Okay, good kid, comes from a great family. I'm addicted and I can't stop." I have worked in education for 18 years now. It's a school that is an alternative setting for kids who have problems and can't quite make it in their home school, so they get sent to where I work. And a lot of them are in active addiction. I have seen a lot of victories in my students overcome addiction, and I have been to funerals. Never did I think there would come a day when I walked in the door coming home from work, and my son was sitting on the couch, and he said, "Mom, I need to talk to you." I said, "Okay, what's up?" Never thinking that he was about to say, "I am addicted and I don't know how to stop." And the tears were rolling and I was in shock, but being that I do what I do in my job, I knew what I had to do right away. And he was willing to do anything. He was desperate. He was dying. Put him in the car, took him to WCA Hospital here in Jamestown. He had an evaluation, then went to Jones Hill for some more counseling, all within a 24-hour period. And to our dismay, they said, "We're sorry, all of our beds are full. We can get you in maybe 2 weeks, we'll call you." And they sent us on our way. On the way out to the car, my son says to me, "Mom, I can't do 2 weeks. I'm going to die. I can't go 2 more weeks." So no sooner did we get in the car and his cell phone rang, and it was the counselor whom he just spoke to at Jones Hill and said, "One of our clients that are living in the rehab here in Jamestown just walked out. We have an open bed." So he was to report in the morning, and I'll tell you, that was the longest night of my life, watching my son go through what he went through, not having that drug in his body for just that small amount of time. I think family support, a lot of family support, a lot of friend support. At the rehab at WCA, they have group family counseling once a week where the family is allowed to go in and do a family group meeting with the person living there. Otherwise, you do not see them. You do not talk to them. There's no contact. There's no cell phone. There is a phone time for like an hour in the evening where he is allowed to call us, was allowed to call us and say, "Hey, I'm doing okay," things like that. But, through those counseling and through learning those coping skills and just being open and honest about his addiction, he was able to overcome it with family support and being able to get into that rehab quickly. That's so important. We need more of that here in Jamestown, I believe. A 15-bed hospital just isn't cutting it. There are other places that you can come in Jamestown, like the UCAN City Mission, and there are meetings that you can go to. Clean, Sober, and Save, and we believe are huge here in Jamestown. But we need more. We need actual live-in rehabs for these people that are in active addiction to help them overcome it so that they can live.
You have a recovery process too. Did you blame yourself?
I did. I really did, because how did I miss it? How did I miss it? Seeing, some of the kids that I work with in active addiction and friends that I have that were in active addiction, how did I miss it in my own family? Why didn't I see it? And if I would have seen it, would it have gotten that bad? Because the night that we did go to WCA, his level of the drug that was in his body, the nurse practitioner told me, "I don't know how he's breathing." He just laid on that bed there, and he was overdosing, really. So hadn't we got him there that quick, he wouldn't be here today, because addiction doesn't pick and choose. I did ask him, I said, how did this happen? And he says, I was fishing with one of my buddies one day, and he was doing his drug of choice, and he asked me if I wanted some, and he was like, no, I don't need that. And his friend, just try it. So he broke, and he did. And he said, "Mom, I knew the second that I did that drug, I was addicted." It was such a high. It was, such a feeling of euphoria that, he was addicted instantly. That here in Chautauqua County, we have become numb to it, a lot of people. Unless it happens to you, I don't think you realize how huge it is, because it's not just the person with a needle in their arm under the bridge. It's a normal person walking down the road, that addiction doesn't discriminate. You can't look at that person and say, "Oh, they're an addict," because That's just not how it works. I would simply say that you talk to them, be open with your kids, and straight up ask them, is there a problem? What's going on? You seem a little off. Is there anything I can do? Is there anything you want to tell me? Just be open and bluntly ask them, are you doing drugs? Because a lot of the time, I think, that's what a kid might want to hear from their parent, that they want their parent to ask so they can open up to them and say, yes I am and I need help. A lot of them won't go to their parent like my son did and say I need help, because they don't have that open relationship. Have an open relationship with your kid. Know what they're doing, know what's going on in their lives, care about them.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
And welcome back. It's been a great show. Now I want to introduce you to a very close friend of mine. His name is Lawrence Allen. Lawrence is in his mid-50s. He's been clean almost 13 years. In fact, on Labor Day, it'll be 13 years, and it is hard-fought every day for Lawrence, but he's getting better as the days, months, and years go on. His story will amaze you, shock you, anger you, and even make you scratch your head, leave you wondering how and why. He's so candid, so honest about his experience and how painful and grueling active addiction can be that you may be left speechless when you're trying to tell your friends about this interview. Here's a man who defies the odds, and recovery is not available to everybody, folks. Most addicts die. That's the direct nature. That is the end result of active addiction. Most addicts die, and Lawrence thought he would.
What was it like the first time you stuck a needle in your arm?
Well, in the beginning, it was painful. I mean, it was painful, but then, the euphoria kicked in, the pleasure. Once that kicked in, it became a routine thing.
Where did your addiction take you?
Homelessness, penniless, broken spirit, the bottom.
Did you want to die?
I don't think in the beginning, I don't really think anybody think about dying in the beginning when they start using. I think it's all about the high. I think when the depression and the isolation and the loneliness kick in, and you get that absence of dealing with healing, and then you get to that point where as though like nobody fucking with you, then the only alternate thought is death.
When and how did you decide to get clean? What took you to a place where you just had enough?
Well, I had this experience. It was true story. This guy, we used to do shit together. We used to rob, steal, been to prison together. He wasn't never my co-defendant, but it was like we had each other back. And I never forget being on the block. And when Slim pulled up, it was one of those things like, you thinking as an addict or a practicing addict, you thinking like, okay, you ain't on, but the next dude, your man on. And that's when he introduced me to the methadone, and he was a counselor. So that's when I got the first shot of hope.
But you got clean without methadone, without alternative medication, so to speak, and you kind of lived through the pain that so many millions of people are unwilling to live through today. Why and how? What separates you from a 25-year-old white male who is near death but just doesn't care? He only cares about the next hit.
Well, through my experience of being clean, I go back to 13 years ago, just wanting to be at a position where though I didn't want to die, I just wanted to live, and going to treatment for myself for the first time in all of my life, 27 years of active addiction, you know, they always offer me jail. They always offer me probation. A black man, you know, and I finally got a shot at treatment. You know, I think at that point, you know, like all of my like bodily organs had shut down, and I just 13 years later, I just wanted to remember what was that pain like. I knew just about every other pain: sexual molestation in the family, incest, being shot, being stabbed, being robbed. You know, living that life. I don't know. It was just something that happened. You know, but most people, whether you black or white, and working in the field of addiction now that I'm clean, everybody whine about the pain. The pain of using is worse than the pain of not using. So when I hear like the Caucasian male, that's the first thing they whine about. I can't go through withdrawals. Why the fuck can't you? And my question is this: name me one thing as a human that you don't have withdrawals about. Nobody in my 13 years of recovery has ever been able to answer that successfully. Well, what keeps me clean is the will to stay clean, the hope. You know, freedom from active addiction, but the biggest part that keeps me clean is, you know, building relationships. You know, I'm one with 5 daughters, and just to see the gleam in somebody else's eye, you know, just start to believe like that you have a purpose in life, you know, and you have a destination, you know, and that life is worth living. And what keeps me clean is just like not ever wanting to be in a position where as though without, you know, I understand the withdrawals. I understand, you know, I always tell people this: I get doing a bit, going to jail. I get that. So after like so many years of being homeless, degradation, you know, and just going through the whole cycle, the vicious cycle of like active addiction and the challenge of just wanting to be clean. I used over half of my life, and just wanting to be clean, man, like wanting something different. In order to want, you know, I always tell people, if you don't care, it don't matter. And if it matters, you have to care. I care that I want to be clean, so it matters. And I want to make a difference.
What is your worst day using as opposed to your worst day clean? What is that contrast like? Does it compare?
Well, I mean, for me, my worst day using, you know, thinking about my worst day clean, with using, it's just a vicious cycle of getting more, wanting more, doing more, and never getting enough. Waking up, and the first thing that comes to your mind is using compared to getting up, having a bad day. For me, the key is identifying, you know, what I'm going through. Because I have lived a lie in my head so long that some days I still believe the lie, only to, you know, like I do on a daily basis, say a prayer and keep it moving.
We talked about what keeps you clean. What keeps the rest of the country in this epidemic? What keeps us in active addiction collectively? And why are we so dead set against opiate, alternative medications, and more hospitals when you went through the same thing with the same drug and didn't require any of that?
Well, one of the things that I understand is like, people don't want to look at reality. To me, you know, it's 2 types of addicts. one that lives in fantasy and one lives in reality. And you know, in active addiction, you know, I lived in a fantasy. You know, I could be Scarface, I could be Salsa, I could be the Godfather. In reality, I can't be nobody but Lawrence. And I think a lot of, from my experience, a lot of things that I think about when it comes to like society as a whole is the Band-Aid. You know, we keep putting Band-Aids on shit. I believe in treatment, right? I believe in a lot of stuff. I believe that this problem isn't the addict's problem. It's society's problem that consistently act as if it's not really happening. You got all these people that's dying from opiates, dying from heroin, dying from man-made chemicals, and we will arrest the addict, but not the supplier.
This is so much more than just finding a solution, getting money from grants from Albany to Jamestown and everywhere in between. It transcends the agencies that we have working with us, because here's the bottom line. With all due respect to the Mental Health Association and CASIC and any other agency that exists to fight active addiction, there is no cure. And that's what we have to come to terms with. Addiction lives in everybody and manifests itself in ways that we could not imagine, from adultery to gambling to sex to drug addiction to compulsive eating and to lying. Again, it's so much more than drugs. And that is our intent, to educate, not to make anybody mad, but just to be rigorously honest with one another and ourselves. Recovery is only possible if it's a reciprocal relationship. For Justin Gould, Matt Hummel, A.D. Simcoe, and Dakota Hunter, I'm Ryan Hedrick. This is WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
We ran another off the tracks. That's time we can't get back. We can save tomorrow if we try. Oh, until we make this right.